Good afternoon. I would like to call the meeting of the Assembly Committee on Revenue to order. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members Considine, De Silva, Flanagan, Gallant, Goulding, Gray, Hafen, Wynn, O'Neill, Roth, Chair Backus.
And I am present. Please mark, I believe it's just Assembly Member De Silva present when he arrives. Just for those in the audience today, we may have members of our committee who may be stepping in and out. We have other bill presentations going on in other committees. And with that, I know our agenda has Assembly Bill 70 before Assembly Bill 226, but we're going to take those bills out of order this evening so we can get Chair Mosca back to her hearing to hear all the other bills going on. So we'll start with Assembly Bill 226, which revises provisions relating to economic development. Then we will go on to Assembly Bill 70, which revises provisions related to energy. And last but not least on our agenda, we will always have public comment here in Carson City and Las Vegas, as well as on our telephone lines. And with that, I would just remind those, if you are testifying in support, opposition, neutral to bills, that you do state your name clearly for the record. And it's really awkward, but we need you to do that each and every time. If you have a very unique name like myself, Shay Backus, it's always good to spell your name as well. If you're calling on the phone lines, I would ask that you definitely spell your name, because sometimes if you speak too fast, we may miss your name. So with that, I will open the hearing for Assembly Bill 70, and we already have, oh, excuse me, thank you. I will open the hearing for Assembly Bill 226, and our bill presenters are already here. So Chair Mosca, welcome back to Revenue.
Thank you so much, Chair Backus. Erica Mosca for the record. I do miss revenue. I like to tell everybody every moment. So thank you for having me back here, committee. Today I'll be presenting Assembly Bill 226, which really just comes from my own experience as both a nonprofit founder and as someone who worked on helping gather the ideas on the community benefits agreements last session when it came to the A's. So this is my own bill. People have been asking me, where does this come from? Comes from me. And today I'm excited to go over the bill review, which it is a pretty big change in the amendment. It was actually not correct in the drafting process, plus getting even more feedback. So know that there is an amendment, and we will of course end with questions. If I have not presented to you yet, I have 3 pillars when it comes to my legislation this session: good governance, higher education and workforce attainment, as well as community support. This one for me really goes under a good governance pillar. Doing a lot of meetings and doing a lot of research, it was really interesting for me to understand that there's not a standardized procedure for our tax abated companies to report how they're supporting the community. There is actually a way that companies can report an addendum that has corporate social responsibility, but there isn't a typical way that they would report it and come back. So that's really what this bill is trying to do. On the front end, it is just a checkbox, and why we did a lot of work to understand that if you are a company trying to get a tax abatement, you may not know the community well enough yet. And so what we wanted to do is signal to all individuals and businesses coming here to try to get a tax abatement that we do expect that they're going to give back to our community, not just in an economic benefit, but with a community benefit as well. Have a checkbox and then have them report within 2 years of receiving the abatement what their outcome was through a community benefits agreement, because the goal is they would work with the community and not to the community to figure out under their policy pillars what would make sense to partner with and make sure they were supporting. And so as a nonprofit founder and former executive director, I understand that budgets equal values. I started a nonprofit organization when I was 26, my own savings, less than $2,000, had to scrape by, didn't know anything, did the 501c3 at myself, started a board, went to students and parents and families and said, I'm going to start this thing that we talked about for so long, and operated out of a school portable for a really long time. I was very lucky that after 10 years we left. I was able to leave with a staff of 6 and a $500,000 operating budget, with, of course, is nothing compared to our abatements, but is pretty good for an entrepreneur. So I am someone who understands budgets, understands paying people. I always say that I understand understand that I wish I could have given all of my employees 100% dependent health care, but if I paid for that, then I would have less programming for high school students. So I understand the nuance of budgets, but also as someone who was a nonprofit person, we really only relied on individual donors, corporate donations, and foundation grants. So while I was there, had no federal money and less than $5,000 in state money once through a mentoring grant. And so I really think about how can we help nonprofits understand businesses and organizations that exist that might want to partner with them. So that's another reason this bill came about. So last session, I helped with just gathering thoughts and inputs from our members and national research on what a community benefits agreement could be. And something that I started thinking as a member of this committee is, why is this not required for other companies? So in the interim, I had a lot of meetings, including with the director of GoEd. I talked to a GoEd board member, talked to local governments, philanthropy, economic development, workforce groups, and nonprofits to just really understand, what did they understand about the process? What did they understand about the corporate social responsibility give back? And really, what would they want to see? And I think what really impacted my thoughts were, as chairing the Nevada Nonprofit Legislative Caucus this past year and a half, so many nonprofits don't quite understand how to interact with the legislature, not just asking for money, but just how do you come up, how do you visit, how do you testify? And so I thought that this could actually be another way under a good governance pillar that we could help nonprofits understand how they could work with the legislature. So according to GoEd, and I thank them for getting me these statistics, 304 companies have received an abatement since it started in 2012 with 12 fiscal year to date. There, of course, is a fiscal return on investment, which we really appreciate all their hard work that's here. And like I said before, the corporate social responsibility is part of the application, but it's not required. It's not in statute. They did tell me that they can't remember a company that has been approved recently that didn't include a corporate social responsibility. But as you can see on this slide, they're pretty different because it's not standardized. So I put an example of some things that were in the A's community benefits agreements versus some things that were in corporate social responsibility applications. I think they're all great things, and I appreciate these companies who want to come here to Nevada or who want to scale here in Nevada and want to help the community. All I'm saying is, under good governance, we probably should have a standardized process and a standardized way that they could come back and tell us what are the community benefits that they are giving out there in the community, so that I think the public can also understand there are some other pros that come. That's not just economic development, but there are other things that are coming. And where I think it could help is, I think about nonprofits, if they knew that a company was approved and they have to create a community benefits agreement, if it was a business that is similar to your nonprofit or under, a same type of category as a nonprofit, you would now know you could actually probably approach that company and talk about, you have similar values, and is there a way to partner? And so that's really the goal, is to get back to the local community, report on it, make it a checkbox, because it is true that if you haven't been in the community yet, you really shouldn't be coming to the community to tell them what to do. So it gives them time to work with the community. So within 2 years, so we could probably see next session how well it's working. And as a request from GoEd, it does not impact the film industry. And with that, I will take any and all questions.
Thank you so much, Chair Mosca. I'll go ahead and start. I noticed that you were talking about business industries that receive tax abatements, but I assume you're also extending this anticipation also to those industries that may receive tax credits as well?
Erica Mosca, for the record, that's a great question, Chair. I haven't thought about that. I don't know if it's under the same thing. I would assume so. If it's different, would want to make sure, because I've been having an amendment already. I could talk to the stakeholders about that.
Okay, that sounds good. Any members have any questions for Assemblymember Mosca? Okay, I have another question then. I just want to make sure I understand the amendment. I saw in your original bill as drafted, there was a lot of details about what a community benefit agreement would entail or what the applicant may put forth. I'm taking it all of that language is going to be stripped out. Is there a plan to define community benefits agreement somewhere in there? I think on one Dill, it's spelled out maybe in the A's bill, but do you think you're going to put it into this bill as well?
Erica Mosca, for the record. Thank you, Chair. That's also a great question. I think what I'm trying to do is work with the folks who are executing it. So I took all of that. I would say, one, it wasn't always the intention that it was going to be so detailed. I think one reason the bill is actually so long is because if you read it, it's clawing back abatements based on if you didn't do the community benefits agreement. I think that it's a more pragmatic view that we say it starts from all the ones going ahead. I think that will make stakeholders understand the purpose of it. And so I will look to see if it is defined somewhere, because if it's defined somewhere, we'll use that definition. If it's not, Chair, I will definitely, again, talk to the stakeholders as well as talk to you when we're making the amendment to see if we should add that.
Thank you so much. And we have a question from Vice Chair Considine.
Thank you, Chair. So my question is, I know that it says that the bill excludes the film industry, but is that the film industry that's currently coming in? Is that the film industry forever and all time? Is that the film industry in whatever sort of elastic interpretation of film industry is?
Erica Mosca, for the record, because it's explained to me that it's just so different, and I know you all had a big hearing on this, but that it's so different when it comes to the type of abatements, when it comes to both the film industry and the film tax abatements, that the go-ed preference was it just wouldn't be included. For me, I put the 2 years because who knows, but there could be more bills in the future, and so I could see how this is working out. So it's not going to be included in this bill, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have to be included in a future bill.
Thank you. Members, do we have any other questions for Assemblymember Mosca? It doesn't look like we do. So if you want to step back, we'll go ahead and open up our hearing for testimony in support of Assembly Bill 226. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to give testimony in support of Assembly Bill 226? Please come forward and start when you get seated.
Good evening, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Henry Rosas, Henryrosas, External Affairs Manager with United Way of Southern Nevada, a nonprofit based in Las Vegas. Our organization has served their community for more than 65 years, and we know that to build a strong community, we do need strong private investment. And especially as our state's population and our economy continues to grow, we want to make sure that we have those strong partnerships to build a more resilient and inclusive state. And so as we continue to work on just increasing our private philanthropic efforts and grant making, we're confident that this bill would just push for a significant step forward for Nevada's nonprofits and the families that we serve on a daily basis. So we thank Assemblymember Mosca for bringing this bill forward and urge your support.
Good afternoon, Chair Backus and members of the committee. My name is Tomas Hammond, Tomashammond, with Carrera, Nevada, here today on behalf of the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, the Regional Economic Development Authority for Southern Nevada. LVGEA would like to thank Assemblymember Mosca for working with us on the bill, and we are here in full support of AB 226. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Olivia Tanager. For the record, on behalf of the Sierra Club Toyabe chapter, we appreciate the bill sponsor for bringing this bill forward and are happy to support. I will say that generally we have concerns about tax abatements, but to the extent that Nevadans can benefit from the communities who are coming here and being present in our communities, we fully support that concept and support this bill. So we urge your support as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Ali Caliendo. I'm the founder and executive director of a nonprofit called Foster Kinship that serves all families in our state who are raising relatives. And as a nonprofit founder, we know how important it is to diversify our ability to continue to provide services. So we echo what United Way says, and we're just in full support of this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Kishelle Coleman. For the record, that's Kichelle, last name Coleman, Coleman. I am with Boys Town, and as a nonprofit organization, we are in full support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't see any folks in Las Vegas this evening. So AVH, is there anyone on the phone line wishing to give testimony in support of Assembly Bill 226.
To testify in support for Assembly Bill 226, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you so much. Next, we will go ahead and take testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 226. Those wishing to give testimony in opposition to 226 in Carson City, please make your way. And once you get seated, go ahead and provide such testimony.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. For the records, Paul Marek with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber has met with the bill sponsor. We appreciate her efforts in the amendment. So with that being said, with the amendment adopted by the bill sponsor, the Chamber would remove its concerns on AB 226 to the reasons that the bill sponsor mentioned regarding the specificity and the clawback. So with that, we would remove our opposition and appreciate her efforts with stakeholders as always. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We still don't have anyone in Las Vegas wishing probably to give testimony in opposition. So AVH, do we have anyone on the phone lines wishing to give testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 226?
Testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 226, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you so much. Next, we will go to neutral testimony. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to give testimony in the neutral to Assembly Bill 226? No one's in Las Vegas, so AVH, is there anyone on the phone lines wishing to give testimony in the neutral to Assembly Bill 226?
To testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 226, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers choosing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you so much. And with that, I'll invite the bill sponsor back up to give any closing remarks.
Thank you. I just want to thank this committee and thank you, Chair. We'll work on those two things and follow up with you. So thank you for considering and thank you for our nonprofit community for all that you do and how we are working together to help everyone here with our economic development. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We can go ahead and close the hearing on Assembly Bill 226. We will go ahead and open the hearing on Assembly Bill 70 and welcome the bill sponsor's representative up to the front dais. And whenever you're ready, please feel free to begin.
Thank you, Chair Bacchus, members of the Assembly Committee on Revenue. For the record, my name is Vincent Guthreau. My last name is spelled G-U-T-H-R-E-A-U. My first name is Vincent. It's V-I-N-S-O-N. I have the honor of serving as the Executive Director of the Nevada Association of Counties, or NACO. I thank you for the opportunity to present Assembly Bill 70 on behalf of NACO, whose members are all 17 of Nevada's counties. So AB 70 addresses two key components, at least from the local government perspective, regarding our renewable energy economy. While the state of Nevada and the country has seen massive investments in renewable energy projects, partially made possible through state tax incentives and in the ingenuity of the renewable energy industry, we've seen increased job growth in the renewable energy sector, and as Nevada works to meet our state and our country's renewable energy goals. The model legislation before you attempts to address a couple of missing key components from the local perspective. And if it's okay, Chair, I just want to mention a couple things. Assembly Bill 70, there is an amendment that I've submitted to the committee. It is on Nellis, and I just want to do a little bit of clarifying. So there's the formalized amendment in the sort of text that I have to submit it in. And what I would say is that there's a lot of green language in there, but it represents language that's new to the bill. There's also a supplemental document that shows sort of the existing law that's now going to be included in the amendment, and also so there's the blue language in the supplemental piece that really shows the only part that we're adding. So hopefully that makes sense, and I'm my attempt was to simplify it and clarify it, but if I've confused it more, I'm happy to answer questions on that. So there's really just a small piece of language that we're adding. And I can go through that with your permission to just sort of walk through some of the key highlights of that new language, because like I said, most of it is existing law. So we admit here at NACO that we believe that this represents a compromise piece of legislation. NACO has been working with industry and also our members to come to an agreement on something that helps provide input for counties and also to cover some impacts to counties. Right now we have a large breadth of applications before our local governments, and there's no way for us to capture those costs. So if I could, Madam Chair, I just want to walk through some of the key pieces of the amendment, if that works for the committee. I think that.
So just so we can make sure, like we did with Assembly Bill 226, I take it the amendment that's online that we can find from Nellis is going to be a replacement of what the proposed bill had entailed. You did the changes, like struck it out. So if you can, it would be good to kind of go through what the amendment is for each of us, in case people haven't had a chance to look at that online yet.
Yes, Vincent Guthrie for the record. So the amendment that is before you, it adds, like I said, some existing law that's in NRS 701A.365. So basically all the way down to the amendment where it starts in sort of section 2C. There's a line that says, notwithstanding the provisions of this section, and unless the county has approved an alternative cost recovery mechanism or fee structure for such facilities, that's actually existing language. And then right after that, it begins the new sort of new addition that for any proposed facility for the generation of process of heat from solar renewable energy. So that identifies the facilities that we're talking about that this would apply to. I will make a comment about the initial sort of notwithstanding the provisions of this section. I want to highlight that actually because it covers an area that I think a lot of our stakeholders had questions on, and I think our members actually did. But it's around, we are not trying to preempt conversations that happen at the local level. Every project by a developer and every county and every local government, every community is different. So our goal is not to supersede any conversations that might be happening at the local level. So then it goes on to discuss what the trigger would be for the cost recovery, and that is the NEPA process through the environmental impact statement. So NEPA is the National Environmental Policy Act. You can see the prepayment there, not to exceed amount, and then it goes on to mention that the county may assess this to offset administrative and operational costs incurred by the county and its involvement in this process. I will make one note, and I'm happy to work on language with the stakeholders that may come up with some concerns. That again, our goal is not to affect the abatement process. I understand the sensitivity around that from industry. And also, I learned through this process in conversations with developers that that's a little bit far down on the process. And I think our members were interested in having that input discussion and that collaboration happen earlier in the process. And frankly, the abatement process is a little too far down the road. I think the projects end up being mostly done at that point. So that's the amendment as it stands, and that's the new piece that we're adding. Like I said, the rest of it is existing language. So I think with that, I'm happy to take any questions, and I'm happy to address any questions around the amendment. But that will be the sort of what I would call a gut and replace of the existing bill that's out there.
Thank you so much. Members, do we have any questions for Mr. Guthrie? I just have a quick question, just because I'm trying to make sure I'm wrapping my brain around what, in essence, NACO is wishing. I understand during our JISC this summer, we had some of our other economic development engines in rural parts of our state come forward and ask us to look into having our localities or representation. And so we'll probably have a BDR forthcoming this session to kind of address that. But when I'm looking at what you're seeking to do under NRS 701A.365, it seems like it is specifically targeted to certain industries and not to any type of economic development of an industry that may be applying for certain abatements, such as we've seen like distribution centers and the like. This is very specific, sounds to me, to the energy sector.
Thank you for the question, Chair. Vincent Guthrow for the record again. That's correct. I just want to reiterate that our intention here at NACO and from our members is not to impact sort of the already codified abatement process that's in law. And this is really about a specific like I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, just it's this new renewable energy economy and the breadth of it that we've seen at the local level. I think for all of its greatness and all of its benefits, it does have impacts to our local communities, and this is really about mitigating some of those. I think especially one thing I'll add, again, it is, to answer your question, targeted at a particular industry, and it's to get at those impacts. It might be some of our smaller jurisdictions, they don't have the manpower to give these applications the review that they need, and they're having to hire contractors outside of their that they don't have a budget for. So we're just looking to be able to give those the attention that they require, but also again not touch the abatement process on this particular industry. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, with that, any other questions from our members? You're getting off very easy, and I thought we were going to drag out the time on this one. So with that, if you want to take a step back, we will invite folks up to the dais here in Carson City to offer testimony in support of Assembly Bill 70. Oh, we have someone in Las Vegas. Las Vegas, I'm not sure if you're there. Oh, okay, go ahead, and Carson. We'll start with Carson City for support of Assembly Bill 70.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Olivia Tanager, again for the record, on behalf of the Sierra Club Toyabe chapter. I wanted to briefly testify in support of this bill, and we appreciate NACO working on it and bringing it forth. Over the summer, in the last few months, we've been having conversations about the Western Solar Plan, which was done at the federal level and impacts Nevada more than any state. 12 million acres of federal land in Nevada are being opened up for solar development under the 2024 Western Solar Plan. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of solar that comes here, and we have some policy concerns about the Western Solar Plan that I won't bore you with in this committee. But generally, we feel that counties should be able to benefit and have input on the development that is being brought forth to them. And because of where we're at with solar development, because we expect the development to continue and to come here, we fully support this bill and hope you do too. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Baucus, members of the committee. Joanna Jacob on behalf of Clark County, here in support of the bill as amended, just on the grounds that it gives the county input, and there's a lot of flexibility built into this for counties to structure, to create a structure that would work for them. So we are in support of that and want to thank NACO for their work on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And going to Las Vegas, it doesn't appear someone is there to offer testimony in support of Assembly Bill 70. So we will go to the phone lines. AVH, do we have anyone on the phone lines wishing to give testimony in support of Assembly Bill 70 this evening?
To testify in support of Assembly Bill 70, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Hi, this is Carrie Rohrmeyer with the Nature Conservancy. Appreciate the opportunity to speak on behalf of AB 70 pertaining to the Governor's Office of Energy's consideration of local governments' written comments on tax abatements and renewable energy facilities. For years, the Nature Conservancy has co-led a Smart from the Start Renewable Energy and Transmission Consortium and Coalition, and we routinely engage with agencies, stakeholders, and the public in decisions around renewable energy and transmission taking place in our state. And with this, we support AB 70 because it provides counties one more step towards greater participation in decisions around what's happening in their local communities. Thank you.
Chair, the public lines are open and working, but there are no more callers to testify in support at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll go ahead and move on to testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 70 here in Carson City. Those wishing to give testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 70, make your way to the front. No one's in Las Vegas right now, so we'll go to the phone lines. AVH, is there anyone on the phone lines wishing to give testimony in opposition to Assembly Bill 70?
Chair, there are no callers to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll go ahead and move on to testimony in the neutral. Is there anyone wanting to give neutral testimony here in Carson City to Assembly Bill 70? Please make your way up and start when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Kyle Davis, today on behalf of the Interwest Energy Alliance. Excuse me. We are here today neutral on the bill as introduced. We have had the opportunity to have a number of conversations with Mr. Guthrow and the Association of Counties, and we appreciate the opportunity to continue those conversations. We have not had a chance to review the latest amendments in detail and get information back from our members on the latest amendment that is before you today. It was a little bit tough to follow, but I think I've got the hang of it now. So we'd love the opportunity to be able to go back to our members and get some feedback on that and continue to work with Mr. Guthrow to reach something that I think we can all agree to. I think we're very close to language that I think will work for everyone. And I do appreciate him putting it on the record that it was not the intent to affect the existing renewable energy tax abatement process. We certainly sympathize with the needs of counties to be able to participate as a cooperating agency in the NEPA process, and we think we can continue to work to get to language that we can ultimately agree to. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Jessica Ferrato here today on behalf of the Solar Energy Industries Association. We're the national trade association representing 1,000 solar member companies across the country. We've been having conversations with NACO for weeks and months around this topic, and we're here in neutral on the bill as drafted. To echo my colleagues' comments from Interwest, we are still processing the amendment. I want to thank Mr. Guthrow for all the explanation on the record. It'll help us explain better to clients, and also appreciate the comments around not wanting to have impact on the abatement process. Completely understand the counties wanting to have increased involvement as economic development comes to those areas, and are looking forward to continue to working on this bill. And agreed, I think we're very close to having something that everyone's very comfortable with, but are here in the process as neutral because that's what we thought about the original bill. So thanks for your time, appreciate it.
Okay, no one's still in Las Vegas, so we'll go to the phone lines. AVH, is there anyone on the phone lines wishing to give testimony in neutral to Assembly Bill 70?
Chair, there are no callers on the line to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you so much. And with that, I'll invite the bill sponsor back up the table for closing remarks.
Thank you, Chair, for the indulgence. Just a couple things. I want to thank the stakeholders for their feedback and input. And yeah, we have been talking, and I appreciate the confusion around how I had to format the amendment, but also, you know, a gut and replace kind of gets a little complicated. Happy to continue those conversations with them. I do want to mention one thing for the committee's knowledge. There is some precedent here in existing law around covering operational costs on energy projects under 701.600 through 640, where it allows there's a requirement to fund some operational costs and administrative costs for the Nevada Department of Wildlife when there's energy applications filed. So I would just hope that we could, so it's not sort of a new concept, and just look forward to having the discussions with the stakeholders. And I just wanted to put that on the record for the committee. So thank you so much again, Chair, and to the committee members for the indulgence. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And with that, we'll go ahead and close the hearing on Assembly Bill 70, and we'll move on to our last item on our agenda, which is public comment. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to give public comment this evening? I don't think we have anyone in Las Vegas, so we'll go to the phone lines. AVH, is there anyone on the phone lines wishing to give public comment this evening?
Chair, there are no callers on the line to provide public comment at this time.
Thank you. So we get to move to my very last item, which is closing our meeting. So everyone have a great night.